Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back again for another episode. And today I have Todd Rupe. Todd and I met at the world premiere of Sherlock Holmes' Mayor of the Night. And he was doing some recording and we got to talking. And it turns out he's written a book and a screenplay. So I asked him if he would come on the pod and talk to us about his work and maybe his creative process. And he graciously agreed to do. Todd, first of all, with an incredibly long winded introduction, welcome and thank you so much for taking the time to visit with me today.
No problem. Thanks for the invite.
Let's start off with how we met. What were you doing at the world premiere of Sherlock Holmes' Mayor of the Night?
I had my friend Jason Riley. He reached out to me like a couple days before the premiere saying he needs someone to hold a camera for him so he can do the interviews for his podcast. And he knew that I already was in the process of finishing up my screenplay. So he reached out to me. I agreed. And once I got there, he's like, if you want to talk to people, go ahead. And when we first saw you, we actually thought you were like one of the producers.
Just one of the OGs, huh?
Yeah.
Cool. That's what I need to tell CJ that what do I need to do to get a producer credit next time? Because I've never done that. But that's cool. Yeah, you guys were over recording a live pod. And so, like I said, we got to talking and you told me about the screenplay, but you also told me about the book. And
Yes.
so I wanted to start with the book. Tell us about Task Force Titan.
So Task Force Titan, it took me about 7 years to write it. So beginning process of the book was more along the lines of me creating these characters and then creating the world around them. I know a lot of people like go through and build the world first, but the way that my brain works, if I can create some characters, I can build almost any world around them as long as they fit into that world.
So when you say build characters, did you draw them? Did you think through them? Did you talk to them in your head? Did you work out who they were, what they were, where they were going before you committed it to paper? What was your creative process?
When it comes to the creators, like I tend to just go full out in my mind, think about what can they do, what should they not do, what kind of personality I want, and then I go from my brain to paper, just writing it down. I'm not so good at drawing.
So when I write fiction, I literally see it play out in my head like I'm watching on television. And frankly, all I do is report what I see in the form of typing. Is that your process or is it something different?
Yes. Nope, that's exactly how I do it. As long as I can see it in my mind, I can write it down.
And so, how do you develop your characters? Because what I need is a long stretch of time where I'm doing something mindless. So, I used to be a cyclist riding 100-mile rides, and I would literally work out a chapter in my head. Or if I take a long walk where it's an hour or so,
Mhm.
excuse me, when I really have the chance to just open my mind and think through things and not have to worry about too much else? Or do you do something like that? Or do you have a focus time you can sit in your desk? How
Um,
does that work for you?
for me, it's a lot of things for me just like randomly come in my head. Like I could be just living completely like working on a house or working on a car, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, it's hey, this could be a really cool character if I did this and this. And a lot of like the main characters in the story, well, I can't say that. The side characters in the stories were actually the ones that I created first. And I had those ones created back in 2013. And the main character and his brother are the ones that I made just before I started writing this story.
So now let's move to either the set, the setting, the rest of it you talked about. You've got them in your head. Have they? Oh, let me stop there. Do they talk to you? Do they tell you what they're going to do? Because I've had characters do things that shocked me. But it was all inside my head. I didn't say that or do that. They just did it. Do you have that experience too? Or how does that process work for you?
So for me, like I write my stories as I'm looking through my main character's eyes. So
Is it first person?
It is first person. My main character, like, he goes from a very traumatic experience with his abilities and everything because everything he touches dies. And then I think to myself, how would a character react to this situation? So I have him looking into it. Then I think about like how would I react to that situation if I was the person being affected by it, and then create a whole dialogue and story around just that experience.
Then how did you I cut you off or stop you from talking about how you wrap those characters into your setting or your scenes?
It's a lot of it is just basically come up with a scene, and if it works in my head, it works. If not, it's not. But I got to be able to have a full conversation between the characters to actually be able to put them within a scene.
So could you tell us a little bit, if we focus a little bit on the book now, A Task
Mhm.
Force Titan, what were some of the central themes that you tried to highlight in your book?
It definitely has coming of age story. So the main character is having his issues with his ability, and beginning of the story, he wants to die, but he can't die. But towards the middle of the book, something happens to him where he loses his ability, and then he realizes, oh no, I actually want to live. So he's coming to terms with himself.
And then what motivated you to write this? Was it, I have to say, I think every author's first book is largely autobiographical, but is yours autobiographical or were you trying to explore something else?
It started off of me just randomly just trying to write a book. But more I wrote the book, more I realized of my personal experience are actually folded into it. So some of the feelings that my main character or other main characters have gone through are actually in there.
And then how did you really influence the characters or the narrative in ways what I'm trying to get at is where you had to separate your own experience and what you
Mhm.
put of you in there from something that wasn't you. How did you
Yes,
sort of integrate those 2? If I know I didn't ask that. You
it's all
got it.
good. It was actually very difficult to get that split, but I think just like the world that I put them in, it's there's enough there that it's personal, but people that don't know me won't get it.
Let me step back to ask you, when did you start writing? Did you start as a little boy? Did you start in middle school, high school? Did you always put pen to paper? What's the writing angle for Todd?
I started off actually in middle school, so I started writing poems and mostly songs. I was super big into music, wanted to actually be a lead singer of a band, being the songwriter, the lead singer, but I'm not the greatest at singing, so that didn't pan out so much. But I loved how I was able to take the words and just give them just a little tweak here and there to create something completely different and new. And towards high school, I started like getting into writing short stories.
So what has fed this passion to the point where you actually published a book? Did you just say, "I'm gonna finish it, damn it," or this meant something to you? It was a story that was inside you, you just had to get out, or you wanted to share with others? Maybe all of the above.
I want to say it's all of the above. Ever since I was 23, I wanted to write a book. I wanted just not do a short book. I want to do a full length novel, but it's like the story has to be right. But as I was writing the story, it actually ended up, hey, there's actually a much bigger story to tell than just the one book. So now the book is actually going to be 9 books long.
A 9-book series.
Yes.
And have you started on book 2?
I'm only within the first chapter of book 2.
Tell us about some of the characters you created in book 1 then.
So in book 1, our main character, his name's Abaddon. His ability is anything he touches dies. His brother is Hamish, and anything he touches comes alive or gets fully healed. I have a character named Raven. She can she's a very shy character, and she can go into shadows. And when she's within the shadow, she's in a dimension that's of her own. And that dimension, she's basically like God, and she can pull others into that dimension too. I have a character which is the leader of Task Force Titan. His name is Strad, and his ability is basically have a master intellect when it comes to fighting or leadership skills. So anytime you were to fight him, he's already figured out how to beat you. On the villain side, I have Jester. He's our main villain, and he's actually living in the past, present, and future at the same time. So the three book series were all through all nine books. We're trying to figure out how to get rid of Jester because Jester's just trying to figure out how to make the world better for him and no one else. Then I got his right hand man, Pumpkinhead, and the longer you fight Pumpkinhead, the stronger he gets and the faster he gets. And the main girl for Jester, her name is Widow. And if you're within some amount of feet of her, she can take control of you, which actually kicks off the big situation in the first book.
I don't know if you knew this, but Steven Spielberg originally envisioned Star Wars as a 9-part trilogy, and of course,
Oh.
it was. So that's very good. Do you have all 9 books at least sketched out in your head, or are you gonna explore and evolve as you go? Or something
So
else?
I have book one, book two fully planned out. Obviously, book one's planned out, but book two is fully planned out. Book three, I'm still playing with ideas, but the second three books is actually going to be in the perspective of a little girl. So she's now looking at the main character of the first three books as a side character. So we're not always going to see who he is through his eyes. But that is more like Abaddon now having to raise this little girl. So that book one is going to be about her being a child. Book two of that is going to be her like a teenager. And book three is us having to say goodbye to her. And then the last three books, it's basically us finding out who was actually in the background that's playing everything out to get rid of Jester. And we're doing it from her perspective.
Let me change the focus just a little bit because you
Yeah.
also told us you wrote a screenplay. And
Yes.
I think you said you had just finished or were finishing your screenplay when we met at the world premiere of Sherlock Holmes, Mayor of the Night. I should transition over to your screenplay. Tell us, first of all, have you finished it?
I'm just getting to scene 5 of my final draft.
And can you share with us what it's about?
So it is a psychological thriller with horror elements. And your main character is Jenna. And she made a deal with an entity, but it's supposed to represent the devil. And it was basically because she was pregnant, did not want to be pregnant. And the deal that she makes with the entity is pain for pain, blood for blood. A deal can be done. And she agrees to the deal. So the entity takes the baby from her. And now she has to do the blood part of the deal. Her and her friends go to an Airbnb to basically celebrate Labor Day. And while they're there, Jenna starts losing her grip on reality. So us as the viewer have to figure out, is what happening is actually happening, or is this just her losing total control? Like a good example of it is a scene that I wrote where murdered someone got murdered on the beach. So the cops came to the house, and as the one character named Brad opens the door to let the cops in, through Jenna's eyes, she's seen the cops coming in and everyone's targeting her as the murderer of this person. But as she gets up to go upstairs, the female officer grabs her arm. And as soon as she grabs her arm, Jenna's back on the couch watching the cops come back in.
So, is your creative process for writing a screenplay different or the same for writing a novel?
It is slightly different because the screenplay has to be fairly detailed. There's a lot of things in a book that I can leave a little bit more vague, but as a screenplay, I gotta really put in what are they wearing? What's the stuff that's gonna be on the counter? What's any animals in the screenplay? What are they? What do they look like? What are they doing?
And I've really come since I met you that night, I met several other people in and around San Antonio involved in filmmaking. And there seems to be a fairly vibrant kind of local scene around filmmaking. Is that something you've found to be true as well?
As far as I'm aware, like both between like people trying to write books and try to do all the movie stuff, it's very active and vibrant in San Antonio. I'm meeting a lot of different people that I didn't expect to be writers.
All right. I have to ask you, what does a writer look like? And why did you not expect him to be a writer?
A prime example, I just started a new job, and this guy's been like just the trainer at that job for a while. And as I was going through my training class, like him and I started talking and out of nowhere. He's like, yeah, I've been like thinking about writing a book. And I'm like, really? And there's a couple other people like in that class who are like, oh yeah, I write too. And I write poems, I write other stuff. And I was like, okay, there's way more people than I thought of, but none of them looked like somebody that I would expect because I was part of a writers group. But in that group's okay, yeah, this makes sense. You make sense.
So that really leads into what I wanted to ask you. Have there been persons, a mentor, somebody who said a word to you, someone that's giving you a pat on the back, or just someone that's really given you the courage to step forward and follow your dream?
Honestly, it's more from the negativity that have gotten in my life that has keep pushing me forward.
Rage, shame, and guilt is a great motivator. I use that every day. Believe me, I get it. Let's just explore that. Why would you tell someone never give up on your dream? What's created that drive in Todd to do that?
The big reason is as I was growing up, I ended up living with my aunt and uncle, but my uncle was very big on getting the nine to five job. This is what you got to do. You got to be 100% guaranteed a paycheck. You have to do all this stuff. Don't take risk. But in my mind, it always did not set well. So I know that wasn't for me. So I like set out and okay, cool. I'm gonna keep pushing to all these different things that I think that I would enjoy doing. And if they don't work out, they don't work out. So I know there's a lot of people out there where their parents just like completely told them not to go that route. Don't do this. The risk is too great. But it's not. There's a much greater risk on not even attempting it. Because you're gonna see someone else that went down that same route and they made it. But that could be you as well. You just got to do it. Put your foot forward. Give it what you can. Don't worry about the risk. The worst thing that can happen, you don't get it. And to me, that's not the biggest deal.
I have to point to you as a prime example. You said it took 7 years to finish your novel. I want to use that as the starting point for the next question of what advice do you give people who feel their dreams are unattainable? They've deferred them too long, or they think it's taking them too long to achieve it.
Well, I think the best thing that I can say is dreams never die. We just get older. A prime example was the actor that played Professor Snape in the Harry Potter series. Always wanted to be an actor his whole life, but he didn't actually start acting until he was 40. That's a long time that someone had a dream and he held on to it. And he became a very famous actor. I just don't remember his name.
Todd, unfortunately, we are near the end of our time for this episode. But before we leave, I wanted to ask you if anyone wanted to reach out to you, connect with you, follow you on social media, what would be the best place or places for them to go?
Right now I don't really have a place, but if you want to friend me on Facebook, I have no problem accepting friend requests on Facebook. Just type in my name, you'll be able to find me. Send me a quick message or anything, or if you're just curious about writing or like different aspects of writing, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Todd, I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to visit with me. I just love talking to creators about their creative process, whether it's a writer, a painter, a filmmaker, an
Mhm.
actor, a screenwriter, or anybody else. So thanks again. And I hope we can continue this conversation.
Me too. Me as well. Thank you.